Everything is fine here on Detention Block A23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, joined by Dustin, here to talk Star Wars, here to
Sexy
talk
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. Um, if you're watching through video, you probably can gain an understanding of our feeling for Acolyte right off the bat, which is okay. Um, yeah, we're here to primarily talk about Acolyte. So obviously it released, so the third episode released yesterday. The first two episodes released a week prior. So we have 3 total episodes of The Acolyte. So I'll throw the spoiler tag out here right now. If you haven't seen it, we will be diving into those, talking about them, having some spoilers. So put us on pause, go watch them. Or some people might say, don't go watch them. And then come back and listen to us. All right, so there's the spoiler tag. So we have 3 episodes that I mentioned. First episode is Lost and Found. Second episode is Revenge and Justice. And episode 3 is Destiny. We're not going to dive into all 3. We just don't have the time. And because it's 3 episodes, that's just too much
And
to
I don't
cover.
want to. I don't want to go through that. I don't mentally have the will.
The wills in Star Wars terms. Um, so how do you want to go about this, Dustin? How do you want to start this?
Yeah, I just want to say, okay, first of all, this has nothing at all to do with any of the social bullshit that people are going to talk about. I think I can speak for you. We don't care about that. We don't care.
No, we don't.
Like, I just think this is legitimately a very bad show for any content, whether it's Star Wars or what. I'm so sick of hearing about like, well, why can't we have strong female characters in things? Are you kidding me? There's never been a better time for strong female characters, right? Like it started with Ripley, and then now in 2024, you have awesome characters like the main character in Fallout, right? Like, I mean, she was amazing. She was so well written, so well performed, right? Like, I could go on and on about.
Can we even say that Carrie Ann Moss in this show for her little appearance is
She has
fantastic?
like 2 lines.
I know, but isn't she? I feel like she's fit for a Jedi.
Yeah, I just want to point out, like, we're not bashing this for any other reason
No,
than it's just really bad in a lot of ways.
in our opinion, in our opinion.
Yeah, and if I we were texting in the group, I don't want to yuck someone's yum. Like we're seeing people that say, "Oh, this is great." I mean, that's like you like what you like, you know? I mean, there's things I like that people probably think are is not good.
Right.
But so I'll just give a generalization and then we can point out things as we go through it a little bit. But like this set design is so bad. It looks like stuff out of like the 60s Batman show.
Well,
Like it's
when
just
when
looks
you first
really
texted me about your feelings of the show, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was the first thing that really stuck in my mind. Was just the set design, the visuals, and I think I told you it feels like you're at one of those amusement parks where it's like set and you've got like the animatronics and everything. It to me it just feels so fake. It I don't know, and I don't know if it's a combination of technology so good so that when you have like fake sets, it's that much more noticeable, or is it purely just poor set design? Could be a combination of both. I don't know, but I had a hard time with the set visuals.
But I mean, the show constantly undercuts itself too. Like it's supposed to be like a murder mystery, which and then they give away the murderer like in 10 seconds, right? And then you
Technically, they gave it away in the trailer because remember I mentioned that.
yeah, I just don't care about anything that's happening either. Like it's not well done. This last episode was completely a waste of time. Like we knew almost everything that happened in that episode. Like it didn't really tell us anything new. I mean, my only thing that I could think of is they're telling it in the perspective of the twin girls, or at least Osha's perspective, and she's a kid. So like a lot of things that are being portrayed are like what you would see like from I don't know how old these girls are, 10 years old or less.
Eh,
And I guess my mind is sticking to like the third episode, but like even the first and second episode, like you kill off like the best character like instantly, right? And it's not even believable to me because you know she flings a knife at the bartender, and like so this is Jedi Master, so that's
Yep.
going to distract her enough that she throws another knife. But and they didn't do that well either. Like I could have believed it if she like threw them both, you know. But even then, like what?
Like, how would that not become a strategy for people to kill off Jedi? Oh, just bring in some innocent victims, like go after them to distract them and then kill the Jedi.
Yeah, so I mean, like, and if it was a Padawan or like a knight, I could maybe understand a little bit.
Yeah.
But like
Yep.
Jedi Master,
Agreed. Agreed.
she can't do two things at once. She clearly can. And again, like from the second the show starts, and May does that dumb fight me with all your power. Like what? Dude, literally when she said that, I almost turned off the episode. I'm like, this is going nowhere well. Like it's not going anywhere good, you know?
I actually didn't really mind the opening scene. I agree with you there that that was kind of
And she
not
does
kind
it
of
twice.
it was really dumb. Like attack me so I can attack you. But then like if you jump to the second episode when she goes after Torben, she didn't wait for him to attack her. So why was it okay for her to just go and attack him?
I think she said it to him again, though. I'm pretty sure she did. And then when he didn't respond, then she's like, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
No, yeah, she did. But like, why then say it? Why not just attack? I don't know. But
So, okay, it's just like just my general things. Bad set design.
mhm,
Like there's some good acting in some places, but there's really bad acting in other places.
mhm.
Um, like just like there's things that happen that are just not believable. Like Osha surviving the crash of that ship without a scratch on her, and she's like buckled in that seat, but then she's not. Like the prison ship scene was awful,
Awful, awful.
awful. Like talk about bad acting. Like the
Can
one,
well, and going to back to your point of believability. Okay, so you're telling me your prisoner transport ship essentially just has one guard that can't really
guards.
one guard really do much. It's got two droid pilots that are like attached to the ship. And why the heck does a ship like this with cargo like this have two escape pods?
Why
Why?
would why wouldn't the Jedi just take her? Like
Well,
why did
yeah,
they need to put her on a separate prison train? Like
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
well, here's the only reason it makes sense is because the only way to make it somewhat believable that she escaped,
Yep. Oh
right?
yeah. Hmm. Yep.
It's just not good. Like there's no facet of the show that's good. Like
It's not creative writing. It's not creative storytelling.
and then and then you have like Tolan or what his name? First of all, I didn't even know that he was the Game of Thrones guy
Oh
because
yeah,
his
Torben,
beard was so off-puttingly bad.
Joffrey.
That wasn't Joffrey.
I thought, or no, you're right. It wasn't
No,
Joffrey.
that's the
It was,
other
yeah, the other. Yep.
the kid that jumped out the window.
Yep. Yeah.
It, the beard was so bad, dude. It was so bad. And then they give him like the receding hairline, with, like the skullet kind of deal. Why don't you just hire an older actor? I don't understand why they have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's many problems I have with this show. That's not, and again, going back to how you started all, like it's okay if you like it. Like that's totally fine. I'm happy that people like it. I'm happy that you can find value out of it in your own way. This is no means if we don't like it, bashing you in any way. It's just this isn't Dustin and I's nor Zach's, because Zach was expressing similar opinions. Cup of tea. I mean, I'm too much of an OT and prequels fan, and I know a lot of I think it's because I first started with the OT and then prequels, because there are a lot of prequel themes to this, especially in the first two episodes. Um, but it's just really destroying, in my opinion, those original six movies. Like with some of the I don't know, not just the continuity, but the meaning behind things. Anakin and Vader, to say one thing, the Force itself, like it feels like many of these things that were original to George Lucas's opinions are changing. So
Yeah, and I gotta be honest with you, Mudge, like I really want to focus on the third episode because I feel like it's been long enough that the first and second episode, like that's been done to death by, and this episode will
yeah,
be done to death by podcasters and vloggers and everything. But
yeah, that's fair.
like like, you introduce this coven of witches, which has been done before, much, much better with the Night Sisters, right? Like the Night Sisters are awesome. Again, cool female characters, right? Marin um
Jedi, Fallen Order, and
Fallen Order and
Survivor.
Survivor, like amazingly well written and acted character, right? With some, if you read the book, some lesbian things that happen, which again, that book was terrible for a lot of the same reasons. This show was not very good, but um, you introduce this coven of witches, and they're not likable at all. Like they're not likable. Like for whatever reason, in the beginning of the episode, the two girls are by the tree. One girl's just a horrendous person, like she's torturing bugs.
Yeah.
The good one is, just trying to study him and all that. Yeah, so right away they kind of give you that, like, there's good and evil here.
Mm-hmm.
But then the woman comes out and comes across as, straight up, bitch, like right away, right? Oh, can't be outside the walls. Why? Like, there was really nothing to show that there's threat except for the Jedi. And I just think of that meme where the guy's like poking out the tree. And it seems like that.
I got my eye on you.
That's exactly what that was,
Yeah.
which is just so stupid. And I mean, this episode really like dropped Soul down for me because it wasn't well acted in that regard either. And so, again, right away, like not a great start to the episode. And of course, they're kind of, grooming them to go through this ascension.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like grooming isn't like the term that like we use it. Like I'm just saying like they're
Right.
preparing them to go through
They're
this.
preparing. Yep.
But like, why are they forcing the coven, and specifically the mom who created the children? I forget her name. And
Uh, yeah, because
Sarah or something like that.
Asira or something. Yeah,
But
the one that carried them, right? You're talking about.
yeah,
No, the Zabrak was the one that carried them.
yeah, her name
Yeah.
was I'll never forget. Coral.
Oh, was it? I can't remember her
Yeah,
name.
her name's Coral.
Okay.
Because I think of every time I hear that, I think of the meme from Walking Dead.
Oh,
Coral.
Carl. Well, now I will remember it probably because of that.
Yeah, so her name's Coral.
And
Coral.
then the other one created them, right? So
Yeah.
she is will or manipulated
One
the force
is surrogate,
somehow.
the other one's
Yeah.
But so they're forcing this like, oh, your sisters, you gotta love each other. You gotta, stay with each other for life. You can't leave. Can't leave here. You gotta be
Mm-hmm.
you gotta be a witch like us. It's like, why? Why that's not good parenting. Why are you forcing that girl to be just like her sister? She clearly doesn't want to be. And
Yep.
then, the acting for the two girls just, and I want to be fair to the actresses because one, they're kids, but the writing
Yeah.
wasn't good, so they were already set up to fail,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Because I mean, perspectives change so quickly, even within episodes. I mean, in this specific episode, and to your point, like at the beginning when they're fighting, they resolve it and then they're like, I love you. I love you. And then like 30 minutes later in the show, I want to kill you. It's like That's just not believable in my eyes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but then there's not enough buildup for that 180 to happen.
right. And then in the previous episode, when Soul was talking with uh who was he talking with when he's like, I saw her die, she's dead. And then a little bit later, after talking with OSHA, she says she's alive, and he's like, I believe you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. He's like, there's no way she's alive.
yeah. Oh, I believe you. So, and
But
it
here's the
continues.
thing.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
They didn't see her die.
No,
They
no
just
one
they
did.
saw her fall.
Yeah.
It's just such a trope. Like, unless there's a corpse, I'm sorry. Like, and okay, and like again, same instance at the end of the episode, because we're not doing like a breakdown, so I'll just like
Right.
bounce.
We're just gonna jump back and forth
I just
here.
want to like, I just want to regurgitate my thoughts because like, it's therapeutic. She has like the worst makeup job ever. Like, she just got like a little bit of dirt on her chin right there after she
After she
fell.
fell.
She was supposed to be dead. Everyone thought she was dead, right? So like you'd think she'd have some injuries, maybe she was burnt a little bit. Like, obviously there's some crap going down in that that facility. No, just a little dirt right there.
And
And
why didn't Soul use the force to hold or to grab them?
by the way, she wanted to kill her sister. She goes to the tree where, remember in the beginning of the episode, like, oh, I know if something's bad, you don't want to be, you'll come to this tree. And then she's
Yeah.
like, Asha, where's Asha? You wanted to kill her 10 seconds ago.
But yeah, but going back to my question, why didn't Soul use the force? He used the force to catch her the episode before.
Well, because you know what? We established in the very beginning, Carrie Ann Moss, Jedi can't do two things at once.
Well, he could have done one of them. He didn't even use the force to rescue OSHA. She was hanging on and he climbed down to grab her.
Yeah.
Like, you're at the height of the Jedi and you can't just be like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's a, I don't know if he's a master at this point, but hey, meanwhile, in Ahsoka, Sabine can literally lift someone
yeah,
her feet in the air. She's not even really a Padawan.
she's the
Like,
worst. She's the worst that um I'm spacing on the droid's name, but that he's ever seen.
so I mean, this is the problem with these shows as of late, is the writing is so bad that like they just, it doesn't make sense in any reality. Like, even, I mean, like we know there's, and I don't mind like them exploring. I'm actually kind of excited about them exploring like different ways that the Force is understood by different groups, different sects throughout the universe. I think that's really fascinating. But in this one, okay, so like here's a perfect example, right? They're doing the training or whatever
Yeah.
they, and all they're doing is force push, force push, force push. You don't have anything cooler. They did show like one cool thing where they, made that Tolan guy like, freeze up or whatever. It was kind of, he was like, ugh, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty neat, but other than that, they were just force pushing. And then so this happens, right? So they get the one witch, right? And okay, there's just one of you. Force push me. She does. Or no, the mother force pushes her.
Yep.
She holds on, and then she pushes again, because she's like, oh, I'm stronger. But the power of one, the power of two, then they get the two witches.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hold on for it just a little bit longer, and then she's like, no. And she pushes him back. Like, you just contradicted yourself.
Yep.
Clearly, it's not that much better. What did they last 10 seconds longer? You know what I mean?
There are a lot of contradictions in this show. It's
And I just want to go back to the set design. Like, when at the end, she's going through, anytime in this series so far, they go through a cave, it is the worst looking cave. It's not believable at all that they're going through an actual cave. It looks like a set.
yep.
So it just takes me out of it. Like, I mean, it's not that, I don't think it's that hard to do, especially with a $180 million budget.
Twice as much as the Kenobi show, and it
I
looks
mean,
worse.
they must, like, I'm telling you, man, like Disney's got a mob that they're working with that they're just laundering money, because there's no way you can take $180 million and have a show look this bad.
I don't understand it. Where did the money go? I mean, your high paid actor or actress you killed off in seconds. Sure, she showed up again
It
in
had like one
flashback,
line. We
but
believe you're using children. I think there was like her literally one line in the show.
it just makes it seem like it was a money grab to use her so that they could put her in the trailer, or not a money grab, but like it's almost like clickbait. Show her in the trailer and everything, get people interested, and then you barely have her.
And here's another thing. Uh, that's just, I mean, it's not good writing at all. Because like it's just, so there's a moment when, okay, so I don't, I'm not, I don't even talk about the ritual thing. Okay. Like everyone's going to talk
The
about,
chanting,
everyone's going to talk about that. The only thing I do want to say is it was almost like power of one, power of two, the power of many. Like you're doing spirit fingers. Dude, go back and listen to it. It's so bad.
it is really bad.
I don't want to belabor that point because that will be beat to
Yeah,
death as it should be.
yeah,
I want it beat to death. I want it to never come back. But okay, so they do the like witch thing on the one girl.
yeah.
She gets the thing. They literally are 2 seconds away from completing that ritual with Osha. And oh, the Jedi are here. She could like literally have completed the ritual in 10 seconds and then go and address the issue.
Yep.
Because it's bad writing, it's not believable. She's like, okay, we'll stop. We'll go talk to the Jedi.
Coincidentally, this just happened to happen.
Here's another thing. They clearly know that the Jedi are there because of the twins. The way they hide them, oh, just stand behind us in the back. It's like
Yeah,
why don't you have them like leave? Like
stay where they were and everyone else come out.
so then okay, continuing just the horrendous writing. So the Jedi are like okay, you're not allowed to be dealing with children. Like or something like that. It's it's a law that like you can't not allow us to like seek
Well,
patents.
it's the Republic that puts the law that any force sensitive has to be brought to or
Which the mother
trained.
had a great retort. She's like, "We're not a Republic planet, guys.
Right.
Like, we're
Yep.
not having just okay." That's ignored. That line is ignored completely.
Yep.
But then they say, you can't let us interfere without your permission. Like without your permission, you can't. Like we can seek these children with your permission, and they're like, "Oh, okay." They could just be like, "No,
No.
we don't give you your yeah."
Right.
Okay, moving on. And then what are the Jedi going to do? Kill him? Then they really look like bad guys.
Right.
It's just, dude, it's so bad.
And I just thought it was a missed opportunity because when we were seeing the trailers, and I don't want to like use expectations to like set my disappointment, but I think it was a big miss to not have it be the path of the walking hand because it's clearly not the path of the walking hand anymore. This is
Yeah.
a witch coven. That's a great opportunity to tie in the books that you've invested so much, resources in to the show. I mean, it's not that far off from the time frame of the books. Why don't you bring a little bit of those books into this to, for continue at or what's
I
the
mean, that's
term?
what we thought, right?
Yeah.
Before the show. Like, hey, this is who this group probably
And
is.
that would have been fascinating. But instead you change it and now it's just another witch coven, which as you already expressed, we've already seen. I mean, it's still cool getting a different understanding, but maybe have it something other than witches because we already have a group of witches that we've explored. Um, so a missed opportunity in my eyes there.
Well, and then, they're like, it's pretty obvious, I think, what the message is. And I'm not going to get into it, but there's like this, the Jedi don't allow other groups to be around to be powerful. But they didn't really they didn't go after the Night Sisters that much, right?
No,
They weren't
right,
targeting the Night Sisters. I mean, it was General Grievous that destroyed the Night Sisters, not the Jedi.
right.
And you see that in Tales of the Jedi. So that's pretty recent, but yeah, it's man, it's not compelling either. And you just, I mean, this episode could have been an email. There's one piece of information that is at all relevant to the continuation of the story, and that is the whole, she created the kids somehow.
But I don't
And
like
there's
that.
this line like, oh, oh, the Jedi think if they figured out how you did it, you know, and people are speculating, and this would be something I would be fascinated in, although I think they would completely fuck it up. Is Plagueis is involved somehow.
Yeah, and I mean, I would hope that would be the direction that they go, but even if they go that path, it just kind of ruins a lot of things from the movies. Because you're telling me that, I mean, how many different people, Sith, um, or like the Night Sisters or anything, have tried to create life? I mean, look at the Mandalorian. The whole objective of the Empire there is to try to find a way to recreate or create force sensitive children or beings. So you're telling me that all these resources and efforts, whether it's Palpatine, the Empire, you name it, they weren't able to find it. But this coven that of witches that the Jedi really haven't even heard about before, or no one really knows, who are outcasts, have discovered a way to create that, and not just one, but two. So it's like, really? And I mean, it just to me minimizes the whole uniqueness to Anakin and to Vader. I mean, I know there's more that's unique to him. Like, it's not just that he didn't have a father and was born through the Force. He had such a high midichlorian count and everything. But like part of that is that he was born through the Force and he was like the first one, which helped create him to become the chosen one. And like, I don't know. It hurts me to see like the characters that we grew up with and grew so attached to and were just thought were like Luke Skywalker, Anakin, and Darth Vader. Their whole roles are being minimized by the new content that's coming out. And it kind of pains me a little bit to see that. So I don't know.
Yeah, so going back to things, I mean, I slightly agree with you. Um, I'll withhold judgment because I mean, we know this is an 8 episode series. This is
Mhm.
episode 3, so they might like come back around and explain it a little bit
Sure,
better.
sure.
So, we're talking about this episode in a vacuum right now,
Yeah, yeah.
but there could be context that's added later that will help. So, but I'm just saying, why do you have to have such a piece of trash in the middle of your season? And so there's this moment, again, just the horrendous writing. I can't stress this enough, where they're discussing this oh, they're gonna come and test the girls, and the one old lady, she gets up and she's like audible, she's like old. Well, there's two outcomes. Pass or fail, guys. Wink, wink. Wow, what wisdom. How old are you, lady? And it took you that long to figure out that the test could be pass or fail?
You know, it would have been great if one of them just turned around and be like, who the hell is that?
Lady, who let her out of her room?
You're embarrassing us, lady.
But like, it's just so dumb. Like, of course, that's the. But then there's tragedies. Oh yeah, we'll just have them fail. But you think the Jedi know? Clearly, they did. It was, you know, just not good.
Yeah, and I know that, I mean, I know there's potential. There's still what, 5 episodes left. They can cover some of this, which I hope they do. And there are some things that are intriguing to me too. Like the analogy I use, just because I don't like a restaurant doesn't mean I don't like everything that's on the menu. There are still some interesting things about this. And at least from this episode, the thing I find fascinating is, it's intentional that when that group of witches got killed off, there's a reason why you're not seeing how they actually died.
Well,
I
it was
think
clearly not from like an explosion, right? So like I think they
right.
were trying to show you that like there was another
There's something else
reason for
happening here. There's some other element at play, which I'm hoping is like, is it Darth Plagueis, or is it like the Sith Lord, or is it, someone else, maybe like a Padawan or not a Padawan, apprentice to the Sith Lord that's kind of manipulating this as well, trying to make it pin onto the Jedi that, they're at fault here.
Okay, but
So,
here's my thing about that. The dude with the worst beard in cinematic history took poison because the scene is
oh,
supposed to be like he felt so guilty.
I
So
hated that
what
scene.
I no one likes that scene. But like they have to be able to justify that somehow. So clearly the Jedi had to do something horrendous.
Right.
Otherwise, that scene doesn't make sense. And again, it just goes back to the really bad writing. So, like, they're gonna have to amend that somehow. But here's the
Why
thing:
the why
I
the
don't
hell?
care. I don't care. I don't care about anything. Like in the show, it's
Right.
just compelling to me. I don't care about the Jedi guy with the red lightsaber because the way they introduced him, it was the worst dub ever. And the worst message ever. What can take down a republic? An acolyte.
It
What?
when I went back and watched it a second time, it almost reminded me of from Marvel, Ultron. The voice kind of reminded me of Ultron. But then I told you that after the first time I watched it, that whole scene reminded me of like Transformers, and at the end of the movie, the kind of the narrative voice and looking off in the distance type thing. But anyways, yeah, I mean, and you're the person that's all about the villains. Like, just not really a captivating villain at this point so far.
No, not at all. But I mean, it's early. So another thing that drives me nuts, just about like what Disney's doing. You just they've been doing this with their series quite a while now. So I looked, it's 42 minutes if you look at like the time bar.
Yep, yep.
The episode's not anywhere near 42 minutes long.
No.
So there's like 10 minutes worth of credit. This reminds me of when I was in college and I was trying to like triple space things to make like papers longer than they actually were. Like the teacher was like, we know what you're doing, you dumbass. Like this is that. This is that. They're taking 42 minutes, right?
When it's actually 30 minutes of content.
I feel like the writers of and like the execs of uh Star Wars now are turning like Beetlejuice. Hey, come on, hey, 42 minutes. Come on, hey.
Hey, that next movie is coming out not too long from now.
I'm excited about it, dude, because they're doing like practical effects, and I mean, you're always cautious about things because
Yeah.
a lot of times I mean, how many like Dumb and Dumber 2, like that was awful, 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 right?
Yeah,
Like
but
Super Troopers 2 wasn't as good as the original. Like
there are certain like movies or franchises that like you can just tell that the second one's not going to be as good.
the
Whereas
Boondock Saints 2, not very good.
others you're like, okay, this should still be good. And I think this one will be one of those. Like this one will likely be a good movie, I feel like.
I
The
I,
new
I agree,
Beetlejuice.
and I think it certainly can be. So anyway, I don't want to like belabor the point. I gotta get to bed because I've been on my own with the help of my in-laws, but sleep's kind of become a premium. I
When
just
you're
wanted to
moving,
say,
you're moving.
yeah, we're moving tomorrow. Well, no, sorry, the movers come in
Saturday is when you move.
Friday. Do check this out. Completely unrelated, so we're losing listeners as we speak. But I want to just say, if you book with U-Haul, you are taking a huge gamble because we booked a 6x12 enclosed trailer at a facility in Hastings. in the fine print, I guess they say, oh, they'll call you and let you know if that is available, which I didn't see. It's what this guy calls me. Oh yeah, the nearest trailer we have for you is in Cannon Falls, which is what, like an hour away?
Probably. I'm not even. I
I'm
couldn't
not
even
gonna
point
drive
to
two
Cannon Falls on
hours
a
there
map.
and back to get a trailer.
Right.
It would cost me more in gas and mileage. So we end up I was like, I'm not gonna work with U-Haul again. Like it's just that is absolutely crap strategy. Like, why would you allow someone to book something that isn't available at all? And you knew it wasn't available. But
Right.
anyway, we ended up getting a like an actual truck because we have movers coming. But the problem is we have too much stuff, and I'm worried that the stuff will be more than what can fit in the truck. Well, if that's the case, they either have to A, get a second truck, which costs us thousands of dollars extra, or B, we have to leave it behind and figure out what to do with it. So we bought, we got this Penske truck that we can just throw like everything from our garage and, you know, backyard and stuff in there.
Yeah.
I'm just, because it's $300, $380 to do that versus $3,000 if the moving company had to bring another truck in.
Right.
So, but yeah, movers come tomorrow, 10 a.m. or whatever, to box things up for us. We paid a little extra for that. So we'll see how that goes. First time I've ever done that. And then Friday they come and load everything on the truck. And then Saturday, supposedly, I mean, you hope that Saturday they come and deliver it.
It's going to be a busy weekend for you. Are you going to be ready in time for next week's episode to record?
I hope not. I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you,
Excuse to not talk about the next episode of Acolyte.
like, I understand that like strategically it's good to see these episodes and talk about them for the good of our podcast because, it's recency bias and people want to,
Yeah.
they want to seek out things. But I don't like I'm with Zach. Like I don't know if I want to watch any more of this.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I will continue to watch it only because
And so maybe it's to say that what I'd rather do is wait for all the episodes to come out and then just watch them all at once so I can get the context of
well, that's
everything.
true. That's true. That makes sense.
'Cause, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not excited. Like I'm not excited for next week. Like I didn't even know it was on Tuesday, honestly. I thought it was released today. That's why I watched it today. Because you were like, "Oh, you're just watching it now." I'm like, "I thought this just came out today." No, it apparently
I'm
came out
glad I
Tuesday.
didn't
So
say anything beforehand.
that's how excited I am for it, I guess. Is I just don't care. Like it's not like Mandalorian where like every day we're like pumped or Andor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still excited. It's weird. I can't explain it for myself, but I'm still excited to see it because it's still new Star Wars content, but I don't like it. So I don't know how to explain that feeling, but I mean, it's Star Wars, so I'll watch it. But I also like feel bad watching it because I don't want to give them the viewership because I want things to change. Like there needs to be some sort of change because we continue to go down this path
You know what's funny?
for
There's a
Star Wars.
parallel here in sports because that's what's happening with Cardinals fans with the Cardinals. I'm just saying, like, that's what fans are saying to other fans. Like, you guys got to stop going to games and stop paying because we need change. They're never going
Right.
to change if you keep going and spending your money. Because, like, why would they? Like,
Well,
clearly,
they already got my
it's working.
money because I'm not going to get rid of Disney Plus because of other things that I watch. So they already have my money. So that's the challenging part. Um, but I'm hoping like all these reviews and everything that are being done will be enough to make a change. But like I don't want to not give them the money because then things could just be completely eliminated. And I don't want it to be eliminated. I just want it to change, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I mean, and like I said, there's still some interesting things that I want to see pan out that might give it some potential. I don't have much faith in that, but we'll see. But it does. Well, I'll just ask you how you feel about the announcement that Leslie Headland is wanting to do an Old Republic thing. Right now he's shaking his head like,
Keep her as far fucking away from that as possible.
yeah,
Because here's the thing, man. Like there's certainly a place to put social commentary into you know works of art and into TV shows, but like you don't have to all the time, right? Like you said, like why couldn't it just be Indara and Soul going out and being badasses together, right? And then, chasing two badass Sith, right? Or whatever.
right.
Like, why can't it just be simple and fun to watch? And that's not, I mean, Knights Republic told an amazing, like the video games themselves, like that's where they would go. Like they told a wonderful story that doesn't need to be manipulated at all. And I think that clearly there's a want to do some manipulation. And speaking of manipulation, by the way, the Covenant are manipulating these girls just as bad as the Jedi would if,
Oh, for
they
sure.
were. So I mean, they're not good
For
guys.
sure.
I just want to point this, these women are not good people either. Like,
Right. Yeah. And the daughter wants to leave. If the daughter wants to leave the mom and the whole family to pursue something new, I mean, I don't know. That to me says one thing about the experience in her home life. I don't know. But well, we'll wait and see. I guess we'll see
the
what
one thing I can
happens.
relate to though, big time, big time. Coral is kind of my parenting spirit animal because she's like, why are we being so sharp and soft on these kids? Like they need discipline. And I was like, oh,
So are you inadvertently calling yourself a bitch because you called her a bitch earlier on?
yes, I am. I'm a bitch.
No, that's funny. Um, I had another thought, but I was were you going to say anything further on that?
No, I'm just saying, like, she's like who I want to be as a parent. And
Yeah.
then, the mom, and she's like, we got, we got to we got to, treat these kids with kid gloves.
I mean, I don't know why I just thought of this again, but that whole suicide thing, what Jedi would commit suicide? They value life. And
Have
don't you
we ever seen it before?
know? Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, like, I understand like them sacrificing themselves for like the greater good of things, right? We've seen
Sure.
plenty.
But like the threat is literally in front of you, who you know is going to attempt to kill other Jedi, and you're just going to knock yourself out. Like, one, you're not respecting your own life when the whole intention of a Jedi is to preserve life. And two, you're not preserving the lives of others by not trying to eliminate the threat.
So let's delve into that just a little bit. We know that because we watched the Clone Wars together, that inadvertently the Jedi do some horrific things.
Sure. Yeah.
Like none of them are like, you know, like because of good writing in the Clone Wars, like you would see these things happen, like million, like lives would be lost based on the choices that the Jedi made. And now we're okay, so like a small coven of people are lost, and this guy feels so bad about it. I mean, like the Jedi are responsible for, whether their fault or not, millions of innocent lives. They were literally at war. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not good writing. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? It's like, I would love to be a fly on the wall in these writers' rooms and like try to figure out how they're coming up with the scripts and the dialogue.
I, I mean, I don't want to dive into it. And I think it was kind of what you were trying to avoid saying earlier. But I think, and I don't want to use the word. Do you know what word I'm thinking of?
I know where you're going. I mean, certainly like in real life, there's probably that going on in the back end of things.
It's like if you heard the expression, I'm sure you have. the ends justify the means.
Yeah, of course.
Th- that's what I feel like is playing out here. And Disney has a buttload of money that they can just like throw away money if they wanted to. And they're okay with this happening for those reasons, in my eyes. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's just kind of my perspective. Because you just see a lot of it lately, and
And I just think there's a better
which
way to
makes
do
it
it.
also like kind of greed purposes too, one way or another.
I don't think it makes money. I think it's not a profitable endeavor to begin
It
with.
it it gets attention. There's no such thing as bad publicity. So if they're getting people to talk about their shows, they're they're succeeding.
Well, and as you probably know, I mean, the comments on these things are very divisive, but I do find it funny that what I do agree with is the people who call out, because here's the thing, like how many millions, if not billions, of Star Wars fans are there? Like, of course, there's going to be
Star
good
Wars
ones and
Theory
bad ones.
did the calculation. He said that there's um wait, how many people are in the world?
I don't know, like 7 billion at this point.
Okay, he said that like 10% were anyways, continue. He
So
made the
let's say
actual
it's 10%. That's
calculation.
700 million people. Like, of course, in 700 million people, there's going to be racist people and bigots and
Sure.
morons. Like, that's just any sect of society. But like, they could just do a better job um, integrating that into the story. I think it's just, to me, it's just kind of slapping you in the face with it. And I think there could be more subtlety
You got to make it organic. You got to make it
and
believable.
yes, and organic. Yeah.
If you make it organic, you make it believable, and then it allows you to just concentrate on the story and the writing, and the rest will accomplish what you're trying to accomplish in the first place. Like, to use your expression, when you slap it on in people's face, it can turn people away from it, and it can only bring like negative attention towards it as well. So
Well, yeah, and especially when like you're kind of, I mean, there is, I think, some part of the show that kind of like vilifies certain parts of other things, in a symbolic way. I
yeah,
just don't, because then it becomes a zero-sum game where like
yep,
you have to win and someone has to lose. Like, but that's not what your ideals were built on. If you say DEI, we you kind of mentioned that. Well, the E in that I think is equality, if I remember. Um,
equity,
Equity. Well, so I mean, in equity, there is kind of a zero-sum part of that. But,
right.
when you talk about like equality, like, that's not a zero-sum game. So,
I just think that, and I've used this analogy before, the only way to achieve balance is through pure balance. Like if you have a pendulum, you don't achieve balance by completely reversing the other way, because then you're just creating the problem again, just reversed. If you have a pendulum, the only way to make it balanced is to literally forcefully bring it in the middle. That's what you got to do. You got to find that middle ground, and that's what you got to stick to. And no one does that. Everyone's just back and forth, and it just creates this combatic, divisive situation that we see that just gets exploded in social media. So
like, I'll tell you, here's a really good example. The episode in The Last of Us with the two gay guys.
yeah,
That was so well done. I mean, like, it was organic, it was natural, it was beautiful,
there's a well-written story.
100%. Like, at the end of that episode, you're like really emotional and like shocked, you know. Speaking, and there was a suicide in that was
Yeah,
completely believable,
right. Yep.
and
Exactly.
so like it can be well done, and and there's representation there, right? Because that's a big thing, right? Is representation, and I believe that, right? Like,
Oh
if
yeah,
you're not seeing
absolutely.
if you're not seeing yourself represented, it's hard to like, imagine that. And we have seen ourselves being represented a lot.
Yeah,
So I'm very cognizant of that and I understand it. But I'm just saying
agreed,
it can be
agreed.
done well. And it's not done well here, in my opinion.
Well, and
So that's the last thing I'll say about that.
it also doesn't help the cause that just because someone doesn't like something, like we don't like this Acolyte show or how it's going so far, that doesn't mean we are against like what your objective might be. We just don't like the story. We don't like how it's playing out. We don't like what's being brought to us.
Well, and here's
So
the thing. We
we
want
shouldn't
to like
be,
this show.
yeah, we want to like
It's
it.
not like we went into it like, oh, this is going to be so dumb.
Right.
No, we were excited about it. We talked about our excitement in prior podcasts. Like
I
it's
mean, our excitement might have waned a little bit as the trailers came out a bit, but when they first announced the show and everything that we were getting up front, we were definitely excited about it.
yeah. Well, here's I want to like just point out this too. What's the green gal?
For Nestra,
She looks so bad.
oh,
Like
it's terrible.
she had hair in the books and everything, like in the depictions.
Her
Why is
long
she
purple
bald?
hair, and her personality is completely different. Like reading those books, I envisioned her as like a very like positive, like, you know, uh, happy, very talkative. Here she's like, mm, mm. Like
But again, I
very
mean, I just want to. It's just the makeup and that stuff. It's just really done very poorly. And when you have a $180 million budget, I just don't understand why it just looks like she was painted green.
yeah.
It looks like fan fiction. Like this whole series looks like fan fiction, just based on like
It looks
how
more
it's
like Star
done.
Trek than it looks like Star Wars.
Well, I don't want to say that because that's taking a shot at
That's a joke. It's a joke.
speaking of divisive.
That was a joke.
No, I just think it looks like fan fiction, and that's not a compliment.
Yeah. But what I was gonna have before, like, I just don't want people to be labeled as like racist or bigots or sexist just because they don't like the show. That's a very emotional response to that and very, I don't know, abrupt response to that. Like it's okay to not like things. That's fine. That doesn't mean you disagree with some of the messages that they're trying to portray or whatnot. So like hate needs to stop from both sides. Yeah, there sure are racists and sexist and bigots out there. They're smaller amounts, you know. The loud few usually, you know, outspeak the many. But I don't know. Let's just be nice to one another. Like, let us like stuff. Let us not like stuff. It's fine, people. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, like again, we have a little group chat with the podcast group. I say that lightly because they never show up anymore. But um, pointing out like, hey, like, there's no reason to go on social media and blast people if
No,
you don't agree with their opinion.
right.
Like, but I mean, there's something, but you can engage in a conversation when
Ask
someone said,
questions.
like, if someone says, "Hey, this is awesome. I love this." I mean, you can say, "Hey, this isn't for me. Here's why." But I don't even know if you need to do that because, again,
I would just simply ask, like, okay, what is it that you like about it? So you can gain an understanding of what they're liking. And then they might, in response, say, well, what did you think about that? And then that opens the door for you to be like, well, this is kind of how I felt about it. So, like, there's a diplomatic and nice and pleasant way to go about having those conversations instead of just like reacting. Our emotional responses tend to get the best of us many times, and we just spew out the things that are in our head. But a lot of times, if you just take a moment and just think and maybe ask questions, you'll find yourself in a better position for the conversation. So,
speaking of reacting, this is like new thing that's like completely infected the internet with like clickbait like are these reaction like these videos that are intending reaction.
mm-hmm.
There's there's a name for them. I'm trying to place what they're called, but like you see it on like X or Twitter all the time, where like someone will post something. What's like name your top 10 best third baseman, in the 90s. I'll go first. And then they're just looking for
Yeah,
it's called engagement farming, I think.
that would make sense.
It's just so dumb. Those are harmless, but like it's happening on such a wide scale.
Well, and it happens both ways too. Like you talking about that, it also makes me think of like, I mean, I have to believe like on Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of that is like bots that people are creating. So I would say the actual rating is probably somewhere in between um a more standard Star Wars and as low as it actually is. But the reverse can happen too. Like you can have positive reviews on things. You can have positive manipulation in from X and Twitter in terms of like trying to convince people that it's a good show. It can go both ways. So I think when you actually look at certain ratings, many times it's actually probably more balanced than you think it is, even if there are bots or anything going one way or another. Um, because for one thing, I've never seen as much lead up positive reviews openly spoken about a show before it was even aired than I did with the Acolyte. Do you remember any other show seeing as much attention in that way?
I don't recall.
But
But I wasn't
have
really
you seen
paying
a
attention
lot
to
for
it.
the Acolyte though?
I mean, obviously, like the critics reviews are super high, and then the audience scores are way low.
Yeah. But then you also go on Twitter and you can also see you see a lot of people farming for negative responses and you see a lot of people farming for positive
Oh
responses
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
100%. I mean, that's just like another thing that I see a lot on like Facebook. Um, Completely unrelated to Star Wars or anything, but like these, I don't know what to call them, like pages or something that they post like what actors look like in a certain movie and then what they look like today, but it's
Oh,
clearly
sure.
an AI generated
Yeah.
image.
Yep.
And then like you just see like 800 comments on each one of these. And I think I think 799 of those comments are bots.
Yeah.
And then like one
Absolutely.
person like this is clearly AI.
Yeah.
Who's falling for this? I'm telling you who's falling for this, your aunt and your uncle, like, but
Well,
anyway, that's
it
uh
just makes me wonder too, because like being in the industry where we fight fraud a lot of that stuff too is done to obtain information about people. If you get responses, you can get information.
mhm.
So keep that in mind, everyone. Anything that you are saying or revealing about yourself, because when you see those things like, tell me your top like 5 food groups, or tell me your top 5 vacations to go to. They know that a lot of times people use these type of things for passwords. So they're
Yeah.
farming for your password and we'll get into your accounting information or anything. So just don't give in to the clickbait or give in to the emotional responses and just, I don't know.
Yeah. I'd sent a message to Jordan, one of our
Yeah.
prior prisoners.
Oh, what about what he thought about the Acolyte?
Well, I was asking him if he wanted to come on today because I think Jordan leans away politically. That's probably different than ours.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And I was just because I was curious, but he was posting things like that would lead me to believe he's not enjoying the show very much. And I was just curious to why. And I was like, hey, do you want to come on the podcast tonight? Because I kind of thought maybe, it would just be you and I again.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get some guests back on. Anyway, he ended up not being able to do it, so I didn't bring it up to you. But yeah,
But I've been seeing that. I mean, I've seen a couple like it, but Star Wars fans that I know, most of them are not enjoying this show.
yeah, and again, just I think it's Occam's razor. Simplest answer is the correct
What's
one. Just
Occam's
not a good
razor?
show.
What's Occam's
Occam's
razor?
razor.
Yeah.
It's the simplest answer is usually the correct one.
Okay.
That's what Occam's razor is. And I'm using this in the context that it's just not a good show, guys. Like there's nothing else to it.
To most people. To most people.
Yeah.
And again, to wrap this up, I think the big thing is it just falls on to the writing, because you can have a really well written story and everything and have like bad sets, bad other things, or not as good other things, and people will look past that as long as you have a good story. But if you don't have a good story, you're going to lose people.
Yeah.
And that's what
Again,
this is.
and I'll point this out. We're in episode 3 of an 8 episode series. There's plenty of runway for them to turn around. It just, to me, it feels a lot like the Halo series where you kind of knew like right away, like this is garbage.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's
that's
why
all
I
I gotta
say
say. I don't want
that's
to
why I
beat
say I don't
those.
have high hopes for the remainder. I have no idea if it's going to go to a season 2. That would make me nervous, but I don't know. Hopefully they learn from it. Hopefully they listen to the reviews that it's getting, but they haven't in the past, so who knows. So yeah, that's Acolyte episodes 1 through 3. So episode 1, Lost and Found, episode 2, Revenge Justice, and episode 3, Destiny. We got 5 more to go. I'll come and talk about it. If you don't want to watch the show, totally fine.
Again, I mean, like if that happens, I will watch it. I'll just watch it all at once instead of
Right.
like doing this piecemeal thing where like some of these episodes you're like, ugh.
Yeah. I'll keep continuing to bring the story. So
Like this, the episode 3 tasted like black licorice. It's just not good.
it was worse than black licorice. Black licorice is at least edible. Like
I
I
don't think
couldn't.
it was.
I
So
was having a
again,
hard time
teach their
consuming
own.
this. um, I'll just speak to our social media handles really quick. So you can find us on Twitter at DetBlock AA23pod, on Instagram at detention_block_AA_23, our Facebook group and YouTube channel, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. Then you can find us on TikTok at DetBlock AA23. Bring us your likes, follows, downloads, subscriptions,
Likes
reviews.
are private now, so you can like the shit out of us on X. No one will know.
Right. Exactly. Um, but yeah, apologies for it's been probably 3 weeks since our last episode. A lot going on. Dustin's in the middle of the move. I was out of town for over a week. Just a lot of things going on. Baby Jay's birthday's this weekend, so we were preparing for that as well. Well, his party's this weekend. His birthday's on the 20th. So, but we'll continue to try to bring you content as much as possible. Good luck with your move, Dustin.
Thanks, bud.
I hate moving.
That's why we paid someone to do most of it.
Yeah, I did it so much growing up that I just want to be in this house for a while. And hopefully you guys are in your next house for a while. I'm excited to come see the place. Go to Packer games with you because it's going to be right there. Go to the draft. Hope you're ready to go to the draft.
I am, dude, 100%. Absolutely. So you feel free to crash with us.
Sounds good. And then we still got to do some Mirror Twin Brewing, more visits there.
We'll get back to it. Yeah.
With that, any final thoughts outside of no God, no, 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 no behind you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping, in the words of Michael Scott, oh, how the turntables have turned. We have some good show. I mean, because again, I don't want to hate it. Like, I didn't go into this thinking, oh, there's an agenda and like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to like this show. No, I want to like this show. Like I mean, of all people, I read like all the High Republic books. I want the High Republic era to be good, and they're ending it on a.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it was good. It was good. The books were good. The adult books.
Now, I will tell you that the High Republic is continuing the tradition that the Jedi are fucking stupid. So bravo on that front.
Awesome. Well, with that, Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. And we will talk to you next time and talk
Bye.
about Acolyte some more. So with that, may the force be with you.
And also with the Timler Rattlers, because that's like
Yeah,
our new team that we'll go see.
it's right there. I got the bobblehead, the Weimer bobblehead with the cheese head
Yeah,
on it.
Weimer, not Wiener.
Yeah, Weimer, Joey Weimer.
I just want to be clear to the audience. I didn't give
Oh,
you a Wiener.
Weimer. Or
That made it worse.
okay, that you're